And that was the Technicolors with Imposter, a new one by them from their upcoming album, Metaphysical. And this album, ladies and gents, is going to be released tomorrow, Friday, July 7th. And I've been telling you and reminding you, if it's anything like the few singles we already have, this is an album you don't want to sleep out on. And I am lucky enough tonight to be talking with Sean of the Technicolors on the phone with me. How are you doing tonight, Sean?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. The weather is somewhat nice here. I'm sure it's hot in Arizona.
Here, yeah. Yeah, it's miserable. It's absolutely miserable here, but that's thank God for air conditioning. So.
Exactly. Do you just stay inside basically all day?
Oh yeah, once probably about June hits, we're like mole people. We just kind of go back into the ground and stay inside as much as possible so that we don't actually melt.
Literally, yeah. I was seeing all the photos. Well, yeah, thank you so much for chatting with me tonight. We're so excited for the release tomorrow. I know you guys are actually doing a launch show tomorrow in Arizona, right?
Yeah, we have a gig here tomorrow night at this great venue called Crescent Ballroom, and yeah, we're going to play a bunch of new songs and mess them up a bunch, and it's going to be great.
That's exciting. So exciting. Yeah. So, Metaphysical, new album, highly anticipated album for the summer. When did you guys start the writing of the riffs and the notes? When did it become an album?
Well, it basically started as more of a thought of Brennan and I getting together and building kind of our chemistry together, because we had only really written together on an EP. And we started with a bunch of tunes that kind of started in this rough place. And then I'd say probably about summer of last year was when we felt like, okay, maybe there's a record here. Maybe we need to push it forward. And then we ended up recording the record kind of split between two parts, because it started out as okay, maybe this will be another EP and we'll figure it out. And then we kind of got stuck in that weird zone where you go I don't want to give up anything. Yeah. I want to record all of these. So then that turned into, all right, well, maybe it's a record. So sometime summer of last year, it started feeling like it was going to actually turn into a record.
So would you say, is a somewhat bridge then between, was Sweat somewhat a bridge between Ultraviolet and the new one?
I think there's definitely some elements that are a bridge in there.
Okay.
But I think the thing that was really important with this record that we didn't get to do with Ultraviolet is that a lot of what we love about being in the band together are being able to bring something different to the live show, and I don't think we had gotten to really showcase that in a recorded way yet. And I think what was great about doing this record is that it had the element of it being raw. We recorded a lot of the record live, and we really wanted it to feel as much true to the band performing as we could capture in this day and age. So that was it was a kind of a riding factor, and we were willing to sacrifice certain elements in order to make that happen. And I think that kind of principle is why I'm excited to bring it out on the road, because I think the songs will take on a whole other life.
Yeah.
On the live side.
That's so exciting. I was actually going to ask, because I've been lucky enough to see you guys perform a few times, and you guys are killer live.
Thanks.
The albums are always spot on, but then hearing the tracks live, it literally brings them to life. And
Thank you.
There's always a heartbeat when you guys play. So when you were recording these songs, you said you wanted to feel that liveness to them. When you're recording them, did you put them in a process where you could eventually see yourself playing them through?
Well, basically, the way that we wanted to do it was we chose to record the record to tape, and by doing so, you really only get 3 shots at it before you can't do anything to it anymore. So we basically we felt like it was addition by subtraction. If we could actually limit our options, we would actually make a record truer to us being able to perform it. And then when we brought it to the live thing, it would feel new again, because there'd be all this room to try things that we didn't get to try when we were in the studio.
Yeah.
So I think that was really the big riding factor when we were trying to kind of pull the record together.
That's cool. And so does that mean you were kind of using your own gear to record?
No, we worked out of a really wonderful studio out in Mesa, Arizona, called Flying Blanket Studios, and the guy that co-produced it with us, his name is Bob Hogue, and he kind of is not only a producer but kind of a purveyor of the studio itself. And the studio has its own life to it in terms of it's kind of cultivated right out of like a movie of a recording studio back in time. So it's like you kind of get a little tripped out when you walk in, and it puts you in a different kind of headspace. And I think having access to certain instruments and gear made the record sound the way it does.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's kind of like a fifth band member having the all that stuff. So
That's so cool. I'm so excited to listen to this full album. Comes out tomorrow, guys. Don't forget about it. So we're saying that you wanted to have a live feel to it. What were some of the influences, or what were you listening to at the time?
At the time when it's funny because I think a lot of times the way that we operate is not necessarily that I get influenced more by the idea of something that sounds exciting versus hearing something and being inspired in the way of like, oh, well, now I would love to make a song that feels like this. Mm-hmm. We had a rule kind of in the studio that if you wanted to describe something, you couldn't reference another song to do it. You'd have to describe it without referencing a song. So, which was really, really, really challenging, because I think everybody's frame of reference is to reference a song and be like this thing in this one song, and not having that, you create your own vocabulary, and it creates just like a different dialogue between people in the room. And so, and it was pretty great. I mean, there was definitely a couple of times where we didn't have a choice in how to do it, but I think what ends up happening is you stop leaning on that and you start to lean on just communicating your thought. You don't realize how much you actually just know from just being inundated with music your whole life. Mm-hmm. You just kind of have your own set of verbiage that you want to use to describe what you enjoy. And so that was really important. A lot of the artists that I listened to, or was listening to, a lot of progressive rock and 70s psychedelic rock are things that I just get inspired by, because it's just, I think they were so far ahead of their time, and it just excited me to hear somebody doing something that was so not people weren't really ready for, mm-hmm. and now are only coming to appreciate it, 20, 30 years later. And then that's what we want to, I think that was what was really important about the record for us, is like, we can't make a record that feels exciting to anything other than ourselves forever. Like, it can't feel exciting in the moment. It needs to feel exciting. Like, can we play this record front to back 20 times in a row and not want to, jump off a building from it, So that's kind of where our heads were at.
Wow. Okay. So, well, then we started out the show with Imposter. So what were you guys thinking about in the studio at that point? Because, I mean, you got that opening lick, and it is pretty, and then the chorus. I love it. So what were you thinking about for that song?
When we had the song, it actually was, we were just about to finish the second half of the record, mm-hmm. and we kind of, Brennan and I both felt like we still were missing one tune that was just something that just simply just grabbed us. Like, we didn't feel like we had that on the second half of the recording process. And so he had this line of, I've got all the secrets in the world, and he didn't even have the title. And I thought that was so cool. I don't know, it was very visceral for me, the line. And so we went into the shed that I have out back here. We have a little recording set up, and I just started playing that riff a bunch of times, just one of those, like, kind of just lucked out kind of things. And then we wrote the song probably in an hour, and then it pretty much didn't change from there. And it's the only song we didn't bring into the studio prepared. We just showed up and we were like, all right, this is the song we're doing. Wow. We'll figure it out as we go. And that kind of ended up being this, like, little special moment that I think every record that we love always has that one tune where it just kind of, you look out and it just appears out of nowhere.
And I mean, it's a beautiful song. It's like an automatic, you just want to listen to it over and over again. So, so you were saying you did it in two halves. Were there songs from the first part of the process that you got rid of that you didn't want to bring onto the CD?
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is that the first chunk, we probably had written about 20 to 25 songs, and we narrowed that down to, I think it was 8 songs out of that process. And that's pretty, I feel like for a lot of people, that's kind of like the general rule is you end up cutting half of it. I mean, I don't know, maybe that's just us, but it ended up being that. And then what happened was it wasn't so much that it wasn't so much of weeding out songs that weren't necessarily making the cut in terms of us enjoying the material as much as it was like, oh, okay, this isn't for this record. Like there was a kind of a theme rolling through that we really felt cohesive. Yeah. But we did put out, along with the record, we put out a little B-sides cassette with, I think, 5 or 6 other additional tunes that didn't make the cut. And then I still think we probably have like 10 other songs that didn't make the record that we kind of did in pre-production that will probably float around and play live and do that kind of thing. Because we're just kind of, I think we just get restless and we're already, itching to write more tunes.
Yeah. So. Well, I mean, that's good for fans because they always want more. We always want more. So.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's funny because a lot of my close family and friends I've shown the record to, or in the case of some of them, they've sat with the record for the last, month or so, and now it's going to come out, and I've lived with it for the last, 3 or 4 months, and it's like the feeling of knowing that now it's actually out, even though in my mind I have to like mentally prep myself for the fact that I'm the only one that's heard these songs 1,000 times, and not everybody.
Yeah.
So so it's like the urge to like go and work on new stuff is always there, but I think that's just exciting because I think kind of seeing the songs through other people's eyes is the other phase of it that makes it feel really special.
That's awesome. And so we've gotten to hear a few of the songs already off the album, but what was one that we haven't heard that you're excited for people to hear or even just to play live?
For live, I'm really excited to play the title track, which is Metaphysical, because it is. We've been playing this song for a long time called Hollywood that we usually kind of close our shows out with, and it's kind of this bombastic kind of rock tune that kind of just goes on this little journey. And I feel like Metaphysical takes the elements of what we do in our live show and allows it to kind of go to this whole other level, but still brings the energy of what that song was doing. So it's kind of cool to have this other element to perform live. It's got all these kind of like little journey moments that we really love, and I'm really excited about that one.
Cool. And with that being the title track, is that kind of an umbrella for the rest of the CD, or is it something different?
It's kind of, I like it because it feels like a mishmash of all the stuff. It's like it's got the riff elements that we love. It's a guitar heavy tune, but then it's got all these like little soft moments and falsetto moments that I think are really special, and then it kind of crescendos into this like big monster at the end, which I think is kind of something we always kind of enjoy. So it's got all of the stuff. I feel like it's a nice little way to kind of sum up the whole thing at the end of the day.
Awesome. Oh God. Yeah, I'm getting chills just you talking about it. I'm so excited to hear it. We've been talking about it so much. But Sean, how can people check this album out?
We will be on all the fun digital platforms, but our record, our vinyl and our record will be available on our website, which is thetechnicolors.com.
Gotta get it. They have to get it. So I know you're a producer yourself, and I was wondering, does that change how you work in the studio?
It doesn't. It does. I mean, I think that in the sense of like, I like the aspect of. I mean, part of what drew me to the idea of producing is that I think for me as an artist, I don't really. I try not to think too much about anything other than the song. I don't really get too technical with the way that I communicate my thoughts towards things. And Brennan and I both kind of come from that same way. And he also is very hands-on. He produces a lot in his own right. So having two people in the room that kind of can occupy the same space is really cool, because when he wants to communicate a thought, I can just kind of go and track what he wants, and then I can kind of just lean on him to go and do his thing of coach him and produce through that. So we never have to wear the same hat at all times, and I think that was a very relieving, and it just made a totally different experience than when usually if I'm just kind of producing with myself or my brother who works with me who kind of does the engineering side of things. So I don't know, it creates an interesting dynamic. It's definitely it's very freeing as an artist to have that sense of not having to have that control and just be an artist for a second and not just lean on the idea of okay, it's more about coaching through the performance versus creating the performance.
Awesome. That's awesome. Guys, Metaphysical comes out tomorrow. Sean, what are your goals for this album and for the Technicolors from starting tomorrow when this new album comes out?
I mean, the only real goal that we've kind of set is that we've really wanted to bring this thing to the stage and get across the whole country and other countries and just show that this thing has a whole other life and let people actually experience what we had fully intended on and not just the one side of it. So hopefully that comes to fruition. We're working on it as we speak. So yeah.
Cool. Well, what does the rest of 2017 have in store for you guys? Touring?
Yeah, touring. We'll probably be putting out more tunes and just a bunch of crazy stuff that we've got planned. So it'll be good rest of the year.
Good. That's what we like to hear. After 2016, we need a good 2017.
I hear you.
Well, so we're going to end things with congratulations, you're a doll. You just released the video a few weeks ago for it. I loved the video. I actually had to watch it 3 times to fully understand. That's what happened doing it.
Yeah.
Is there any stories or at all how congratulations came about that you can share with us?
That song was really, we had been listening to a lot of Velvet Underground and a lot of Lou Reed stuff and kind of this idea of this kind of snarky, sarcastic thought of a story and telling a story through kind of a character. And so I never really identified with the song outside of the idea that we could do something almost in third person without telling the listener that it was in third person and just write it from that way. And so it kind of came about that way. And as soon as Brendan started kind of crooning over it, I was like, oh, this one's going to be really special. So it's definitely one that I really dig playing live too. It really takes on another thing.
That's so cool. Well, Sean, thank you so much for chatting with us about this new album. Metaphysical comes out tomorrow, guys. You want to get it. You want this album. Sean, good luck with everything, and we're so excited to see where you guys go in the future.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
And if you could just introduce congratulations for us, we'll take this out.
Hi, this is Sean from the Technicolors, and you're listening to Congratulations, You're a Doll off our new record, Metaphysical.